I don't know why it's not.
All right.
Oh, good. All right, thank you.
I'm going to partially close my door just for sound purposes so we don't get echoes.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening. Good
How you
evening.
doing?
Just
How are you?
fine. Running a little late. How you doing?
No, we're good. We got a
Good,
couple
good.
minutes. We got
Good,
three,
good.
Good.
3 minutes. We're good.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to rush to get out. I looked at my watch and said one thing, then I got into the car, said something different.
I always set my clocks 10 minutes fast. I don't,
Oh, really?
Oh, boy.
I guess
You know,
I learned
that's one kind of math I can do on the fly that
That's what you call wisdom.
Mhm.
Okay.
Reverend Edwards, you can announce that during the meeting that Reverend McCafferty and Miss Delima Lott are excused because they have annual conference
Oh,
at the same
yes.
this week. So
Okay.
I just talked to Bishop, so he said he would try to sign on. So you might see a phone number, Anne Marie, pop up.
Oh, all right.
I'm
And I
not
know-
seeing
yeah,
anything
I know
yet,
you're
but I'll keep watching.
Number.
So good to see you again, Reverend Edwards.
Yes, good to see you. Good to
It's
see
been a
you.
while. Hey, Bob.
Yes, yes.
How you doing?
Hey, Trina. Hey, Anne Marie. Hey, Jackie.
Yeah, this COVID kind of keeps everybody in. It's hard to see some people for a while,
I know.
Yeah,
but maybe things will soon level off, hopefully.
yes. Rachel, how are
I
you?
got both of my shots.
I
Yeah.
did too.
Good.
Well, good evening. And my wife says 6 o'clock, so we will get ready to start our meeting if all minds are clear. Call the Lewes African American Heritage Commission meeting to order. We'll have a moment of silence at this time, please. Amen. Thank you so much. And at this time, we'll have our announcements. We'll get our secretary to give the announcements, please.
All right. First announcement. I wanted to mention that Reverend McCafferty and Miss Delima Lott will be absent today due to annual conference with Church Matters. And the next announcement is a general announcement, a community announcement, is that Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice Charlotte King Program annual scholarship application deadline is coming up, and that's on April 3rd. And for those who may have family members who may want to apply, they can go to www.sdarj.org for the application. And another community announcement is Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice African American / Black Professional Development Scholarship application is coming due also May 3rd. So if you know any students or anybody who is looking to enhance their career, that is available also on their website. And the final announcement that I have is that last month we had several special guests, panelists who shared their memories with us and experiences as children and as young adults while they lived in Lewes. And once again, we would like to acknowledge and thank them. We enjoyed Miss Catherine Kitty Perry, Miss Janet Maul Martin, and Miss Deborah Wynn Robinson, all who shared with us a mound of information, and they were very interesting, and we really appreciate that. And hopefully maybe sometime in the future, we'll be able to do a little bit more of that.
Thank you so much. It sounds good.
Are there any other announcements? Did anybody else have any? I don't have anything else. I think the 17 men, 19.
17 men.
17 men exhibit is still going on. I still have to make my way over there to visit, but I will. I'm hoping to do that. Is the campus open on Saturdays, Jim?
It's at the museum. It's at the Lewes History Museum.
Oh.
So that is open. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so is there an appointment necessary?
No.
Okay,
No.
so hopefully members of the commission, including myself, will make their way over there. I am anxious to visit.
It's a great exhibition. The artist work is really wonderful. Her research is great, and the exhibition is in place until February 2022. So you have time.
Oh, great. Great. Well, maybe I will be able to do that a few times.
And actually, it is an exhibition to revisit because there is so much there. There is so much there.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Anything else? Anyone?
Yeah, I just have a little question, Jim. Is there any way that, say, if I went to the African American Museum in Wilmington, that I could go to your website and see the exhibits that you're having too? Is there any kind of partnership between the different museums like in Delaware?
We have shared our exhibition schedule and our programming. We always do with like institutions around the state, and actually with like institutions in Maryland and in Virginia as well.
Okay.
Whether or not they're able to share or promote, if there's cross-pollination, they will. So if it's a topic that relates to something that they have currently, or that borrows from their collection, et cetera, then they'll definitely promote it, or they'll have it on their site.
Oh,
But it just depends on the institution.
okay.
I know that I at times sign up for different museums websites and newsletters. So a lot of times I'll get things of that nature just coming to my email.
Right.
But not necessarily do I know if it's across.
Right. And I should point out that the Lewes Historical Society then promotes the work of other like institutions in the tri-state area. So sometimes if you're a member of the Lewes Historical Society, you'll receive notification or promotion of something that another institution is doing.
Right.
Reverend Edwards, Miss Alicia Jones has her hand up. Can I allow her to speak?
Yes. Alicia?
You should be able to unmute, Miss Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. As far as the announcements are going, Rachel, you have an announcement because you're on the committee for April 13th. So please make the announcement.
You're on.
Muted.
You're on.
Okay, on April 13th, the Alliance in their town hall meeting, last week it was the March Across the Bridge, and this month, it's going to be Black poetry through history, and we have young and old. We have the only Lewes poet, Leona Robinson, is going to be on our feed. And we have some students, and we have some students from the Martin Luther King that won that. And we have everything from rap to you name it. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be virtual. So come join us and have a good time.
And the link, is that a link on the Southern Delaware site?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mhm. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Miss Alicia.
Another announcement. If not, at this time, we have the presentation and possible action on the approval of the minutes. The minutes read by our secretary.
Okay, you have
forgot.
already received and read the minutes of February 18th, 2021. Can we get a motion
She did.
to accept the minutes?
I so moved.
Yes.
So
Second,
It's
We
been
have a
motion,
go ahead, sir.
sorry. It's been motion and second that we will accept the minutes that were
Jim Abbott is
Has been
on,
read.
and so he might talk about the net. Yeah.
Miss Alicia,
Yes.
we hear you in the background. Can you mute?
Oh, can I just say one thing?
We're
Laura-
in the middle. We're in the middle of a motion. Can we
Oh, I'm
finish that?
sorry.
Mhm. Reverend Edwards.
Okay, it's been motion has been made and second to accept the minutes as they're read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it with the corrections. Okay, the meeting items is number one, special guest request, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester. Do you have any information on that?
Yes. When we were doing our Black History program for the African American Heritage Commission, one of the things, along with having some local panelists, we hope to have invite Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester as well to share her background and heritage. Unfortunately, there was so much going on in the federal government with the transition and with the riot and with impeachment that we could not get the letter off, and probably at that time she probably would not have been able to attend anyway. So what we did was we extended the invitation and gave her the dates of our next few meetings, and hopefully we will hear back from her as one of our special guests to join us. So we're hoping that that comes to fruition.
Yay. Great idea.
Thank you, thank you.
And you all have received a letter that was sent. And just to mention that that idea did come from Reverend McCafferty. So we moved on, and we couldn't get on as quick as we wanted to, but we still acted upon it.
it's a great idea.
Wonderful. Next is our budget. It's Trinity Brown Hicks.
We submitted a budget to Lewes City Council, and with various items on the budget that were, and I'm not sure, and I don't know if Ms. can speak to that. I don't know if the budget passed because I wasn't able to join the last city council meeting. So I'm not sure if everything passed or what happened. Mike can speak to that.
It did pass. It did pass. And what we'll have to do is develop a mechanism for how we coordinate on obligating funds.
Okay, wonderful. So that's good news. That was our first attempt. And so.
Anyone to say on that?
And that's it on that, sir.
Okay. If we can get a update on the marker.
We don't have an update at this time. I'm sorry to report.
That's okay. We know that oftentimes research and timing and all of that, it does take time to do all that. So that's fine. There will be times when there is no update on different things. So we're good. We're good with that, Miss Rachel.
Well, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the last meeting or not, but we are really blessed because on our little tiny committee to get the marker for Cato Lewes, we have Marcos from the Lewes Historical Society, and he is so excited about it. And we have Russ McCabe, who was the state archivist, is now retired, and he always wanted to have a marker for Cato Lewes. So we've got some people that actually know what they're doing. And the woman, Denise, who is the the archivist at the Lewes Historical Society Museum, has said she'd be more than willing to help us. And so it's fantastic.
Wonderful.
Thank you for that report. So you had a report anyway.
I did.
Okay, thank you so much. The next, do you have an update on the volunteer research that anyone?
Yes. The Education Research Group, they sent me their information on their update, and I would be happy to read it, and they can join in or add, or if there's any additional questions, if there's anyone from the Education Research Group who would like to have anything to add, they may. I'm just going to read it. It's not too long, I hope. So far, the members of the Education Research Group are Miss Susan Nogan, Miss Leslie Slan, Miss Susan Gokler. Now, I tell you, we have two Susan, so from this point on, it'll be Susan N and Susan G. And Miss Charlotte King. They have conferred several times. It says, we have decided to focus for now on the transition between segregated schools and integration. There are still people who were both teachers and students during that transition who are living that we can interview. Susan is focusing on teachers and what happened to them after integration. Her research so far is on the written record. She has been researching the history and desegregation statewide, particularly the reaction in Milford, to provide context for the Lewes experience. She has contacted Mr. Sly Wolford, who has suggested many resources, but she has not been able to access the records of the NAACP. President Lit Mitchell or Attorney Lewis Redding, due to COVID, have hampered the aspects of the work. She has been at the Lewes Historical Society, this is Miss Susan N, several times a week for the past few months, reviewing the resources, including the yearbooks of Lewes High School and school board minutes during the years between Brown and the last segregated class at Jason High School in Georgetown. Her hope is to eventually compile her research in an article and would like to incorporate the first person narratives. She said, we're hoping to collect through this project. Ms. Leslie Slan has interviewed Ms. Sherry Thomas, whose father-in-law was Mr. Fred Thomas. As a group, they have developed a set of questions to use for oral history, but have not used that set of questions yet. We are interested to learn what others are doing and who they have interviewed, and whether or not they can coordinate interviews if they are going to consider desegregation period and the experience in their interviews. Ms. Stephanie Collick and Ms. Hattie Bull are also in being part of this work. that was from the education research group. And if there's anybody who wants to add anything to that, or make a comment or statement, they can do so. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Trina,
Mhm.
there's
Reverend, you
another
have two
teacher.
hands up. You have, both Bernice Edwards and Alicia Jones have hands up. Are you ready to acknowledge them, or did you want to have more discussion among yourselves?
Let Bill he had a statement, then we'll go to them.
I know there's a lady and her name is Miss Bertha Turner that was a longtime teacher in this area. And she may be somebody to interview, I think, as it relates to oral history.
Mhm. Wonderful. So I'm hoping the research committee is listening, and they may be able to contact you, Bill, to try to get that information if you're aware, or try to zone in on where it may be and how they can get in touch with that person.
Trina, let me say this to you, just, and I don't know who's on or who's, anybody on the committee or whatever, and maybe it'd be great if at some point tonight we find out if they're, I know people come on the Zoom and see who's really on, but I know that Stephanie, and I think she may be on, I know that Stephanie Collick would agree to interview Mrs. Bertha Turner. I know she would.
Wonderful.
And then maybe some
Stephanie
other
is
people.
on.
Okay, and there may be some other people on the Zoom that could help us with this. So again, I think it'd be great to get some type of roll call to see who, when it's the proper time to see who was on and who could help us, really.
And I think we have Miss Hattie, and who else who had their hands up?
It was Bernice Edwards and Alicia Jones.
Okay, go ahead.
Bernice had hers first, so hold on. Miss Edwards, did you have something you wanted to say?
You're on mute.
No, I think I had my, I was trying to get on.
Oh.
You home or you in the office?
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
And then, okay, now Alicia Jones. So I just unmuted her.
Before we even started this commission, I had taken an oral history, and maybe Reverend Edwards remember Reverend Edwards and Reverend McCafferty. So this was before we had set up a protocol. So I will turn those in. I don't know who I give them to. They're still on USB drives. To you, Trina?
Yeah, that would, because we will try to have those.
Transposed?
Yeah, because you had mentioned as part of, which I included as part of our budget, to try to get those things interpreted. So yeah, you can give them to me and we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Now we've got Susan Geckler has her hand up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ms. Geckler, you should be able to speak.
There, okay. I just wanted to say that I'm on the group, and several of us have also met with Denise and had a tour of the archives, and she was very helpful. So, and we are trying to make sure that we're doing this in a systematic way, so we're not jumping over top of each other, and not being duplicative, but being complementary. So that's where we're a little bit slow getting started, but we're trying to be systematic about it.
But a wonderful effort. Wonderful effort.
Absolutely. And don't mind being slow, because we know that research takes time. So we're not in a rush. We just want to do it to the best of our ability. And I know you're doing that.
Anyone else?
I I think that, I don't know if Miss Zita Dresner is on. Is
She's on.
Miss Zita, would you like to say anything about what you're working on?
Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm unmuted. Okay.
We hear you.
Yeah, my topic is the Jolly Jills, and that was a women's group that existed, 50s and 60s, I believe, in Lewes, that basically provided playground equipment for the field where Ship Carpenter Square is right now, and sponsored a lot of other activities, such as the yearly parade, activities down at the beach, and the baseball games at which they served, provided the refreshments as a fundraiser to pay for uniforms and other equipment for the young people to use. I've interviewed Catherine Perry, who's the daughter of Elizabeth Stewart, one of the founders of the Jolly Jills, and Deborah Robinson, whose mother was also a member, and Angela Ward, whose mother was a member. And it's hard to find anything. I've been at the archives a couple of times with Denise, and she's been trying to help me, but there's very little available. So if anybody can help me out with knowing any of the women, other women who were part of the Jolly Jills, and whether they have relatives who are still living who would be willing to talk to me, I would really appreciate it.
I have a question, Susan. Do you record this? I mean, do we have a video of them talking and telling their stories, or do you write it down or tape it, or?
Are you talking to me?
Oh yeah, to Susan. I mean, Zita, I'm sorry. Yeah, excuse me, Zita.
No, I haven't recorded them because it's not like, I'm trying to get their memories, and it's very touch and go. So I'm just, at this point, I'm taking notes, and I expect to write up their notes, and I'm using their notes to try to follow up on leads.
Good.
I think one of the things that we want to be cautious when we do recording is that some video recording will probably need to be edited some kind of way. So we may have to go a different route as opposed to a Zoom recording, and maybe have to do a video recording that can be edited and used in the manner of the ways that we would like to. So right now we're open to looking at some things with that, but we're not there yet. But we're still going to do our best and do the oral histories as best we can, and get them interpreted so that at least we have something. We didn't want to stop what we're doing because it's important to get what we can at this point, because a lot of the members of that era are leaving us quickly. So we're trying to get what we can, and that's why Miss Zita is probably having such a hard time, because most of the members who are now deceased.
Right.
So now we have to look at their children.
And not all of them remember that much about
exactly
what their mothers did.
May I ask a question? Is there on the various Facebook pages or do you pose a question at times and ask if is there anyone who has a treasure trove relating to this or that? You were talking about your Zita, you were talking about your current research topic. Have you gone on the internet and applied a question or directed a question to the general audience or the general membership?
No, I'm not on Facebook.
Okay, maybe someone
So
could, I'm
I
just
did
wondering,
that.
if maybe someone could do that for you, and that might be
Mhm.
helpful in garnering some responses.
That's fine.
Absolutely. I'm a member of the Memories of Lewes, and I kind of moderate that page, the Memories of Lewes Facebook page. And part of my report was to announce that there's a lot of pictures that are coming to our attention, and a lot of times we see pictures and comments underneath the pictures that give us some leads. So for instance, on the Facebook page, someone saw a picture and it led me to a relative of Mr. Johnny Walker, who of course on the beach was, had the establishment there. It was probably a grandchild or a niece, but she said that an older person, an older generation would be able to talk a little bit more about it. But it led to, that's how I'm getting a lot of the leads. So you're right, Jim, that a lot of this is coming from, and I belong to a lot of different nostalgic Facebook pages just because I want to see what's coming up, and maybe it will help us in our research. So you're absolutely right.
And I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to add to your workload, but it is something to think about maybe every month offering up a new topic on the web page or the Facebook page, or a new group or a year, and ask people to reflect on that particular aspect of history.
I have to say, I love the post that you did, Trina, of Bill Colick and Dave Frederick a few years back when they were lifeguards. Do you remember that, Bill?
Yeah.
That was so much fun to see that. I loved it. Wow. That was so cool, both of you.
It was
And
great.
I did want to say that Trina has been absolutely incredible. I mean, she has helped me so much, finding leads for me, giving me phone numbers, and basically encouraging me when I get discouraged because I can't find stuff. So thank you, Trina, and I really appreciate it.
And I wanted to mention that Miss Bernice Edwards has a trove of information. Of course, Reverend Edwards and Bill would probably have a lot of information for any one of the research team. So don't overlook them along with, all of our other members here, because including Miss Alicia, she does a lot of research on her own, call her, contact her, whatever you can do. But the one thing I want everyone to remember is that when you do call or get in touch with somebody, please remember to fill out the forms that we need so that we can, number one, protect the commission, and have the ability. We may not use the information right away, but it gives us the ability to use it sometime in the future in different projects and aspects of the commission. So anybody you're interviewing or any projects you're doing, to do the form, send it and email it to me, or however you get it to me. I don't care if it's by snail mail, and make sure that anybody you talk to signs that oral history waiver form. And I've adjusted it a little bit because what I'm going to report on is that that I've received some booklets and pictures and newspaper clippings from Miss Kitty Perry, who donated these things to our commission. And I one evening last week, I received a phone call from Miss Pratt, her first name escapes me right now, but on DuPont Avenue. She lives where the Happy Day Club used to be. And she called me and said, look, I have something I want to donate to you. And it was an actual bottle of, oh shoot, I should have it with me. It was a bottle. Let me show you. Hold on. I have it. They were digging up in their yard and they found this bottle, unbroken, and it has the label on it, Mundu or something like that. And it says registered Detroit, Michigan. It's a a brewery. But when we looked it up, this bottle is from 1935 era. And it still has the dirt that was from the Happy Day Club or maybe Robinson's Coliseum in it. I would not get rid of that dirt because I remember the Equal Justice Initiative. They kept their dirt.
Absolutely.
On the grounds. And I said, I'm going to keep this dirt in here because this means a lot. And so this is just some of the things. And so once I started receiving things like this, I wanted to know, well, what do I do with it? So I contacted the Lost Historical Society, and I had a visit with them, and Miss Zito was there as well to look at some of the booklets and newspaper clippings that we received. And I wanted to know how to preserve some of this stuff and what we could do to preserve it. Was it Miss Clemens?
Denise Clemens.
Yeah, Miss Clemens showed us what we needed to do as far, and told me and gave me a list and how to inventory and maintain things and keep things on acid-free paper and filing methods. So those are some of the things that, of course, we are learning as a commission when things of this nature are given to us, and that how to store things. So I was really happy to get that information from her. And again, we mentioned the Facebook page, and what else did I? And I think that's all I have for my particular report. But I'm working on the Happy Day Club and the Happy Day Club baseball team and the Robinson Coliseum. So that's one of my things that I wanted to focus on, because it is it's part of my heritage. So because of the family.
Trina, you were talking about the soil and talking about those wonderful glass jars of soil, a very powerful representation of sites of lynchings and the use of the soil. There might be a way to honor lost Lewes via a similar approach of jars of soil of locations, such as the ballpark, such as the Happy Day Club, of finding a way to a particular form of glass vessel, collecting soil from each of those locations, and then doing a wall within the Lewes History Museum or somewhere else where you unite all of these different jars to represent what has been lost. It's just something to think about. I think you brought it up. I'm just taking it a little further, but it's something that we should discuss down the road.
Absolutely.
I have
Absolutely.
to say that
one of the things that we noticed in some of the booklets were old church booklets. I even found an old booklet that my mother had from the 50s that was from St. George. But some of the booklets that Miss Kitty donated, they had the businesses that sponsored the booklet. And so a lot of those businesses were African-American businesses that are long gone, but it gives us a clue
Absolutely.
of what Lewes looked like at that time.
Yes.
Well, nice.
You know, at first you think about it and how, and I know in conversations with you, Trina, the frustration and thinking about all that has been lost, the buildings that have been lost. But you've introduced something this evening where we can honor the lost structures, the lost places, and create a very moving exhibition that honors the past. So we'll have to continue with this.
Absolutely.
I agree, Jim and Trina. I think that's the real thing that we somehow do not bury this great history. You know, it's happening so much and has happened so much in our country that I really am hopeful that we can do things to not just simply bury this history.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Is there anyone else who'd like to report on any activities or have any thing else?
We have Denise has a hand up.
Okay.
Denise, you should be able to speak now.
Okay, I'm sorry to be late to the meeting. I had talked to you a couple of months ago about my idea for a marker for the baseball field or acknowledging what had been there. And I wanted to report that I've talked with Mr. Abbott, and I've also talked formally with the president of the Ship Carpenter Square Homeowners Association and 3 members. And I just wanted to be sure that everybody understands what it is I'm proposing and what it's not. I think some of the homeowners had heard something about this and were concerned I wanted to do something in the middle of their open area. And I said, no, what I was thinking about was towards the front, towards the street side of where their bench is and that sign that isn't particularly welcoming. And I mentioned under a tree or something like that. And I just explained the idea to them. And I don't know how it was received. I'd like to think they felt better hearing it directly from me, but I honestly don't know. I think they were pleased to hear that I didn't want to do something in the middle of their open space. They had a lot of questions about who was going to produce a walking tour or a trail. Was it going to be the LHS? Was it going to be you all, or what it was going to be? And how was I going to pay for this and all? And that's putting the cart before the horse. But the president was going to present the idea at a meeting of their homeowners association. And I don't know when that's going to be, but I haven't been tarred and feathered yet. So maybe it'll be well received. But anyway, I wanted to explain the idea to them. And so that's been done.
Wonderful.
Miss Denise, I appreciate that, because I know that a lot of times when ideas are bumped around, sometimes they become grandiose.
Yes.
Than the actual idea that's presented.
Yes.
So I can appreciate that you have taken that time to have that discussion with them, and I hope they realize that it's probably as small as my iPad or sort of computer. I don't know, but anyway, just something just to recognize that what was there. So hopefully they get it, and maybe they will invite you to even have the discussion.
I offered. One of the board members was very interested and questioned me about the history of the ball field, and I really couldn't. I came here in 1989. I'd heard stories about it, but when it was created, who donated the land, etc., I don't know. But and I don't know the name of the woman who spoke, but she said, I like the idea of recognizing what was here. So I thought great. I hope she speaks up at their meeting and, says something positive, because I understand that open area is essentially the backyards of some of those people, and they, I don't think they want people trooping through that, but up right by the street along the curb or set back a little bit from the curb, I don't know how they could object, but that's me.
Any other comments or information?
I think that's it for volunteer report, unless somebody else has something else. That's all
Bernice Edwards' hand is up. So
okay.
I think, Trina, what have been said, and I think with Denise, I think who just has spoken, I think where we can get the clear history of people who have lived here for so long, knows that history, and when we do the presentation to the HOA, they will understand the significance of that ball field prior to someone coming there.
Okay, well, you're absolutely right, Miss Bernice. I think we do have pictures of the parades that were held by the Jolly Jills, and the women. We have a photo of the women. So we in the booklet that we do have. I have the booklet that Miss Kitty presented. So and when Jason came over and marched, through the town, through 2nd Street to the field, we have pictures of that and people in the field in front of St. George AME Church. That was in the booklet. So that may help in that. Now, I don't have the complete history of the field as far as how the field got deeded, and then I have the somewhat of the history from my sister and whoever verbally, but not necessarily a written documented history yet. So I think what we have is a start, but you're absolutely right. It does, having a visual may help with that.
Absolutely.
And maybe someone can help us up to get that visual going, Jim.
Yes.
One thing I wonder, Trina, as you're talking, I wonder if Jack Vessels and his partner in the whole Ship's Carpenter project, I wonder if he has any information or artifacts or anything that he might want to share. And the Lewes Historical Society actually gave him an award several years ago for the whole idea of doing Ship's Carpenter Square. And so, he might be willing to, I don't know. And I don't know even where Jack Vessels is right now, but if anybody knows, he's somebody that might know, since they're the ones that did the whole project.
Ms. Zita, this may expand the Jolly Jills project a little bit further, and give a little more substance to what you're looking into, and maybe Mr. Vessels may be a point of contact that may be a lead to be able to obtain some information, not because we know the Jolly Jills and some of their things were community oriented, and a lot of the activities either happened around church, the beach, or the field.
Right.
So that may be a way to broaden your perspective on the Jolly Jill.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask Phil a question, if that's okay, because as I'm doing my research, I keep saying the name Thelma Colic. And I assume she's related to you, Bill.
Yes, she was my aunt.
Do you know if
She
she
is
was,
passed.
do you know if she
Yes.
was in the Jolly Jills?
I don't know, she has passed.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you someone that I think would maybe be able to give us a little information about the Jolly Jills, and I think that's, excuse me, Leona Robinson. I would
Absolutely.
think, excuse me, I would think that she would be able to give us a lot of information about the Jolly Jills.
Can you put me in touch with her, Trina?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
she's my neighbor down the street.
Oh, fabulous. Okay. I hate to take people's time up with my own personal questions.
Oh, that's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. I mean, one lead leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. So,
And I'll look to see if I can find anything about Jack Vessels. I'll go back to the to Denise this week.
Great.
Trina, also, I think not only Jack Vessels, but I think his partner was Dunbar. He was his partner and with Ship Carpenter.
That's
say
right.
that name.
Jim Dunbar, right.
Dunbar,
So we also had Denise and Leslie had their hand up. So if you want to talk, you're
Okay.
unmuted now.
I just want to say, I'm Leslie Slan, and I did the oral history of Sherry Thomas. And Sherry's, her son's grandfather was Fred Thomas, and her son was recently visiting Sherry because she just had knee replacement, and he brought pictures with him of the past from the family, and he was going to bring it to the Lewes Historical Society. So I don't know if he has yet, but I know she said that he was going to do that.
Wonderful.
We look forward
So
to
what
that.
I try to do as well, when I get information or see pictures, I'll take a picture with my cell phone of the picture. You know, if they allow me to do so, because I don't want to miss out on that moment of being able to capture something that could be possibly utilized, and also get them to sign that waiver for that release form. But that's an idea if that ever comes up again, you know, maybe ask if you can take a picture of a picture.
Well, can you hear me? Because I think he had a lot of pictures, and I was delivering a meal because she had just had her knee replaced, so I didn't feel, you know, I wasn't going to ask at that moment, but I will ask her again. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Denise Emery again. I just wanted to mention that when I was talking to the to the homeowners association, the 4 members, they all had a tremendous sense of the fact that they were living in a historical area and what had been there before. So anyway, I think that's important that
Yes,
you do that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Miss Leslie, I just wanted to say I'm so happy that you were able to interview Mr. Fred Thomas's relative. I know was that his spouse, Bill, that recently passed away?
Yes.
So we missed that opportunity, and I'm not sure her health would have promoted us to be able to have interviewed her at that time. But, you know, I'm hoping that, and I'm glad some of the children or the in-laws, or hopefully we'll be able to get in touch with even some of the, any of the children who may be still, you know, available to have a discussion. I think there are some children still. We just have to find and have that conversation. And Bill, you may know the names of the children.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to think of her, her husband, it was her ex-husband, who was the son of Fred Thomas. Let's see, her son is Ray Thomas.
Yes.
I know that. And Sherry was a Dunning.
Yeah.
Her
Right.
last name is Dunning, yeah. Mhm.
Right. A long chain of family history, also in the Dunning family. So they,
Yeah,
mhm.
there's a lot of history there. Mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
Stephanie Colick has her hand up. So I'll go ahead and unmute her if you're ready.
Okay.
Hi. Miss Brenda's two daughters are local, Sabrina and oh my gosh, I can't think of her other daughter right now. But Laleen, yeah. And Laleen is in the local Delta Sigma Theta chapter, so Miss Bernice probably has her contact information. And Sabrina is, I think, in Wilmington.
See these leads to other leads. We love it.
Stephanie, Sabrina is local. So this is Bernice. I do have both of their numbers. And I can get that to you, especially Sabrina.
Yes. Thank you.
But Reverend Edwards have a lot of history too.
Yep, that's exactly what I said earlier. He has quite a bit of history.
I'll look into that.
Hattie Bull's hand is up.
Reverend Edwards, I just wanted to thank you again for continuing to press on, amid the tragedy that you had, and you may have lost some things, but we want to remember. So we're coming to you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for me to unmute Hattie Bull?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Maybe it was an unintentional hand raise.
Miss Hattie?
Oh,
Yes, can you hear me?
There. Yes.
No, I was just gonna say Bernice answered, I had put my hand up before she answered that I had contact information for Laleen, Brenda's daughter.
If you all would be so happy to pass that information on to me, and I'll make sure it gets to whoever needs to get to it. But I would love a soft introduction if you all, know them personally, to let them know that, what we are doing as a part of the commission, and if they could, be willing to talk to our members of our commission. So a soft introduction is always nice.
Anything else claim our attention? Any other questions? If not, we would like to schedule our next meeting.
Yes, our next meeting, of course, is going to be the third Thursday of next month. I don't actually have the date, but it's always the third Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock.
John Randall's hand is up. Okay, you can speak, Mr. Randall.
I think he's on mute. Okay, there we go.
Unmuted. Hi. I was trying to, actually, I sent a email over to the Reverend Deborah. She's not here tonight. And I was trying to contact Trina too. I won't take up too much of your time here, other than I work with I live in Belltown, and I'm working with the Nassau School Coalition, Drew McKay is the chair of that. And I've been involved in following I'm on the board of directors here for Lewes Crossing. That's where I live. And I've been involved in following some of the events at the 5 Points redo and attending the meetings for the schoolhouse. And one of the suggestions was, what are we going to do with that schoolhouse? And I had talked to some of the Del Dot people that were handling the 5 Points. And we were trying to find out, and I still don't know the answer to this because Drew was still working on it, if that building could be moved. That's what the issue was at the time. And it looks like the State Historic Preservation Office is getting involved in the school, and they're starting to do some of the repair work over there. That's who's paying for that. But I still don't know if that school is going to be able to stay there. For a time, Del Dot wanted that removed. Now it looks like they're open to keep it there, but I think they would like to move it. I had made a suggestion to Del Dot that that intersection is a complete mess, and everything is getting buried in Belltown. And if the school had to be moved, then why not some of those empty lots across the street from the schoolhouse? Del Dot already owns part of that land. I'm talking about the peninsula there. So I had made some suggestions to Del Dot about keeping that as an open space and as a park, making it an open space. And if the schoolhouse had to be moved to get it out of the way of the 5 Points junction, then why can't it be moved across the street? So I had contacted Deborah to get an update, and she actually referred me back. I wanted to see if this group would be interested in supporting that type of thing here, or looking into it, because I've still been knocking on doors here. I sent Deborah the email, and I was trying to have her present that to you folks. And I think what she did was she sent it back to Drew McKay. So I went around in a circle, but I wanted to try to bring it to this commission's attention. And you, Trina, I had left a message. I was trying to contact you directly. So if you would like to get a copy of that email that I sent, Reverend Deb has that, and maybe we could chat about that issue with the schoolhouse and some of the suggestions that I was making till Del Dot about possibly making an open space and a Belltown park there, a historic park, and kind of see what you think. There was some interest to take a look at that when we were looking at the schoolhouse, but that's still all up in the air right now. They were supposed to do an engineering study to see if that building can even be moved, and I haven't gotten any feedback whether that's been done or not. So that's a little update on the schoolhouse also. But I will.
I know that Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice was also involved in the initial, and then the coalition, the Nassau Schoolhouse Coalition, I think, branched off from that. So I haven't heard a whole lot more about what the plans or where it was in all of this, but you've given us a little bit of information and food for thought.
The nonprofit was approved, so the Nassau Coalition is now a nonprofit corporation. So we had to do that with the intent that if we took ownership of that building, you have to do that to show the state that you're valid and you got the means to take over a property like that. But that's just an update. And like I said, if you want to get a copy of my email that I sent to Deborah, you can read through some of my ideas over in that area. You may be interested in that. I'm still knocking on doors about that peninsula and that open area, because it's really not suitable to have anything built on it. There are empty lots over there right now. And like I said, the state already owns part of that property in that peninsula. So it's just an idea that we've been throwing out. But when you're talking about history and Black history, Belltown is a key area there too, and it's being plowed under.
It is. It's a lot of history there in Belltown for sure. You're absolutely right.
So Miss Charlotte had her hand up, and then Hattie Bull also has her hand up. Can I unmute Miss Charlotte?
Yes.
All right. Miss Charlotte, you should be able to unmute now.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, I wanted to give an update because the previous speaker may not know a few things that have occurred. Drew McKay, who is the chair of the coalition, and I'm the co-chair of the coalition, was surprised to find out that DelDOT made an agreement with the Lewes Community Foundation to take responsibility for the Nassau School, which meant the coalition was taken out of the process. And as you'll notice, repairs are being made. The foundation has decided to leave the school where it is and to make it a community center. Now, how you make something that small a community center, I do not know. But that was not done in any kind of consultation with the Nassau Coalition. Drew is waiting to hear back from further discussion with the DelDOT and is trying to have some conversation with the foundation to see if the foundation, after they make their community center, will turn it over to a community group. And we're hoping, though we're not necessarily satisfied with leaving it as a community center, sticking out there isolated on Route 9 where no one's going to visit it, because the access will always be impossible to that building as it is now. But we're hoping that we can come back in the process. I think that we would like to read your email, and I hope that Drew got a copy of it, since he's the one that's in contact with all of the people who are working on the building right now, not Reverend McCafferty. So if you can send that to Drew, it would be most helpful in his further conversations with the state officials.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure he got a copy from Deborah.
Lewes Community Foundation.
Because the
I
next
may be naming the, what is it called? The Lewes, maybe it is a Lewes Community Foundation.
Lewes Community.
But they're the ones that have the building at this point, and they recently put on a new roof.
Did you mean the Greater Lewes Foundation?
Yes, the Greater Lewes, and I don't know why DelDOT decided to turn the building over to them, since we were in direct contact with DelDOT. And they knew that we had formed a corporation, we had started a bank account, we had a legitimate body, but we never heard. And when we finally pushed why we hadn't heard from them, they said, oh, we gave it to the Greater Lewes Foundation. So we will have to get in touch. And Drew wrote a letter recently to all the members of the Nassau School Coalition to say he's still working on it, don't give up, and he would update us as soon as he talked to the Greater Lewes Foundation. So we are still working on it and hoping that we will be able to be a part of whatever the process is and encourage them not to just use it as a community center. We had hoped that we could use it in the attempt to preserve some of the African-American history in the area.
Right.
Since we have no, outside of the Lewes Historical Society, we have no other space or building dedicated to that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Charlotte.
And Hattie Bull's hand is up. Can I unmute her?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm glad this was brought up tonight because I was really curious as to what was going on with that building, because when I was at the meeting, it seemed like it's been over a year ago when this discussion did come up about that building. So the man that brought it here tonight, I don't recall what you said your name is, but I'm glad that you brought it up so there could be some discussion about it. And as part of that discussion, I really hope, as opposed to being a community center, that there would be some consideration about it becoming an African-American museum. I know at one point at one of the meetings that was brought up from the inception of this. So whatever is decided at whatever point, I hope that would be part of the consideration so the history around here can be preserved. So I'd just like to say thank you to you for bringing that, what you discussed tonight, to this committee, because I have been wondering what was going on, and it's the first that I've heard anything about it for almost a year. So thank you.
Yes.
I was just going to add to that, that being that there would be a lot of support for that type of a concept over there. And I know there is in my community, like I said, I'm on the board there, and also in the community of Hanlopen Landing. You're talking about over 500 homes in that area that I think people would be very, very supportive of seeing something like that done in that area, in that peninsula. And now's the time to act on this, because that whole 5 Points area has been postponed as far as them putting in that half a circle that they're going to do over there. But like I said, there's vacant land over there still for sale in that peninsula. I don't know what in the world, who could ever build on that land. And that's just based on where it is. And that's why I made that suggestion to Del Dot is, why don't you buy the land? You bought that building over there. How many millions of dollars were spent buying the Ace building over there to prevent that from being developed? Buy a few of those lots across the street and save that building from being torn down, because you know they don't want that to be there. It's in the way. So that was just a recommendation I made, and I've been attending these 5 Points meetings. And that was brought up with the Nassau Coalition too. Drew knew that. I've talked with him about that. So just to throw it out there, I want to start knocking on doors again, and I'm just looking for some support.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I just you know, wondering, I know we're past time, you know, who the Greater Lewes Foundation is. And, you know, the one thing that concerns me is that as we discuss these things, we simply don't have anybody at the table that this history means anything to. And it's very concerning for me. And I do want to say that and go on record with that. You know, as we look at this and look at the building down, and certainly I didn't know that that was where that building was now, but it's certainly important to have someone at the table that this means something to, and that has been in this area and knows what's going on with this, really. So I do want to say that.
Yes.
All right. If all minds are clear, is there a final comment before we adjourn?
Hattie Bull's hand is up.
So is mine.
I have to agree with Bill, which was going to be my next comment, that you were talking about support. If you take this to the Black communities as well, I am sure you will get strong support for the preservation of that building, because that building, as all of you know, was a PS. I don't remember the number, that it was assigned, but it is one of the, what they considered the colored schoolhouses back in the day. So Bill's comment is really, really relevant to this conversation. As far as those discussions, that it would be beneficial to the African-American community to be a part of that conversation.
Right. It's true.
And then I think Miss Charlotte had something to say as well.
Yeah, I asked Drew McKay if he'd like to give a report to you at your next meeting on the third Thursday of the month, if that's okay with you, Trina, because he has the most information. As for the Black community, Hattie, there are about 60 members on the coalition, and I think 3/4 of them are the residents of Belltown, including Reverend Duffy, who also has a rich, rich history in this area and has brought in all the families that were related to that school so that their voices were not absent. What I was trying to say to you is that DelDOT, for some reason, bypassed the coalition. But I think if Drew can come at the next meeting and bring you a report, then your intervention at that point may be very essential. But they were not left out. The state made their own decision about what to do with the building after the Black community via the coalition went to DelDOT and requested that building.
Okay, at this point, yes, go ahead.
Reverend Edwards will, when we look at the next agenda, then we'll have that discussion.
All right. And certainly would like to thank all of you for your support, your ideas, and we're getting ready to adjourn. So we consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.